Up next, we got another one for Ask Your Brother podcast where he's talking to a queen and she's saying, I guess, men are to blame for the lack of communication. Okay.
If he didn't come in leading, it's kind of like, how am I just going to automatically start listening to you? It's very hard.
Hello. Is this, let's see, the unmodest truth. So is it Sarai or Sarai? Sarai? Oh, okay. Well, welcome to the channel. And how are you?
The whole Kevin Samuels thing. I like it.
Good. Thank you for having me on here. Very excited. Okay. I wrote a couple of notes, so I make sure I didn't miss anything. Now, the topic, why couples don't hear each other, I think that's a little vague because it's like, for many reasons, like, has the couple been together longer than they should have been together? You know, have they been on and off? Like, it's all specific reasons. Mm-hmm. So I think the title is a little vague. Then, are they married? Are they not married? But just leaning on what the topic is at hand. Sorry. Mm-hmm. For me, I wrote down, woman-wise, it's the lack of respect for the man that she's with. Especially if he didn't come in leading, it's kind of like, how am I just going to automatically start listening to you? It's very hard to do that for women, I believe.
Well, that's funny she say that because the man that she selected acts like that for a reason. So if she wanted a leader, she wouldn't disqualify a leader. A leader comes in a form where he's not going to allow you to just do whatever it is that you want, and most women don't adhere to that. They'll go find somebody that's gonna tolerate their bullshit.
And I'm not a man, but I'd imagine for a man it would be, at least what I've seen, like a lack of love. Like the couples that I see together, the man that really adores his wife, it seems like he takes in consideration what she thinks or what she wants because he actually loves her and wants to be with her. And the last thing I wrote down was not on the same page as far as morals and values. It's very easy to not hear each other when you're completely different in many different ways. So those are my three reasons. And to your point, which I disagree with, you said it's not communication as far as why couples don't hear each other.
Yeah, it's not the prime. It's usually more often than not the primary issue. It's usually a sign. It is an issue, but it's usually a sign of a deeper issue.
A lot of women perceive that if a man's focus isn't on his woman and he doesn't like her more than she likes him, then the relationship is not balanced. But I perceive it otherwise. I think that a more stable relationship is where the woman likes her man more because that also encompasses respect.
I can agree. It's a sign of a deeper issue. But I believe that the number one character trait of a leader is communication. And in a relationship, that is the man's job to do that. To lead.
To do what?
To lead the relationship.
Okay.
So the fact that the man is struggling with communication and not being able to guide the relationship how it needs to go, I would say it is the man's fault. You didn't pick well, or you don't know how to lead. Sorry.
Nah, you don't have to apologize to me. I know that it.
But I find it funny that this guy's a therapist who sat down and studied human behavior as a profession, and she's gonna argue with him. But to each his own.
Takes two to tango. So, and I know having done, I don't know how many couples I've worked with over the last 10 years, I've almost never come across a relationship that involves communication issues where only the man was primarily the issue. Usually both parties have a role to play in how we got there and how it got that bad. I agree with you though about men leading and how when they don't lead, if we stick with the analogy I used, when men are kind of driving that car, I view it through the lens as when he's got the steering wheel and there's all this chaos going on, you have to figure out what to do to make this car ride go a lot more smoothly. Like I agree with that. But the idea that like women are these innocent victims that aren't contributing and also having a role to play and taking accountability. I've never approached talking or conversations like that, just because I know that the most patient man still needs a person who's willing to work with him. Right. So, you know, he can do and or say all the right things, but you know, I wouldn't go so far as to say that that kind of sounds almost misandrous as much as it sounds like your view of male leadership is one that you really honor that. Like you really believe that like men are supposed to just simply be the lead, especially in an area like this. Does that sound?
That's a good perspective. I didn't perceive her as being malicious or misandrous either. I perceive her as just being naive in her thought. And the reason why I say that is because her perspective is her own. And so she doesn't know anything outside of that.
All right.
For sure.
Cool. Yeah. I respect your views on that. As far as what you said originally from the beginning, when you mentioned that women they just flat out don't respect men. Why do you think that is, especially nowadays?
Because the lack of leadership. I think it really boils down to that bullet point, the lack of leadership. And a lot of men, at least Black men, are raised by their mothers mainly. So that skill hasn't been developed. And a lot of us women, we ought to capitalize on that and just take over and okay, I'll lead and they follow.
The thing about it is that just as many of those Black men that were raised primarily by their mothers, so were the women. You know what I mean? So you've been raised by the same mothers. Y'all have the same trauma that y'all are dealing with. So I don't understand how there's no level of empathy there, because it wasn't like Black women were raised by both parents or by their fathers and Black men were just raised by their mothers. You both was raised by the same person.
They do follow. Or like we get into this limbo of being engaged for 12 years, you know, just the crazy stuff that women choose to put up with. Like it's one or the other.
Yeah, I agree to an extent that part of the reason for why I think it's got
that affirmation is a skill, bro. There ain't no he not like me. I'll be like, yeah, you're nuts. You're crazy. Let me explain it. Let me break it down for you, Barney style.
And so bad. And I think a huge percent, I would even probably say the majority of the blame, I would agree with you, is that male leadership in regards to dealing with women and female behavior definitely is numero uno. Because I blame simps number one. Because simps are the guys who are so appreciative of anything that they can get from women, especially in terms of attention, that they won't challenge prideful, arrogant, negative, and narcissistic behavior or traits that they can see in their female counterparts or the women that are in their lives. So the issue is that, and we could point to it in a variety of areas, whether it's sexual related sites, just how women objectify themselves, how they act in terms of their behavior, attitude. It almost doesn't matter what women today do. There's going to be a man that signs up and say, I'll tolerate it.
We'll clean it up. Yeah.
I'll deal with it.
That's the problem.
So she can be the most disrespectful. She could have a lengthy track record of you know, men in her past where she is disrespectful, she's cheated, she's scratched cars, burned clothes. She could have done anything.
Well, I will say though, there's a caveat to that. There's a look caveat. You know what I mean? Like a fucking 2 cannot get away with doing no shit like that. But like a 8 or above, yeah. You know, she could probably get away with doing some shit like that, and you know, a nigga might come scoop her up. But it ain't just no everyday average 5. You know, most of these hoes is 5s because that's average.
Always going to be this guy that signs up for it. The secondary issue I've noted and seen is that many women that claim to want a man that's mature, that's emotionally intelligent, that can understand them and lead emotionally with the stuff that you're talking about. A lot of ladies don't want that man in their teens and their 20s. Now, my question is, whose fault is that?
I could say it's our fault. It could be our mother's fault, maybe, possibly. Maybe, possibly.
Yeah. So if you're spending a decade or a decade plus not picking those types of men,
racking
and
your body
then
count up,
not waiting around just being single the whole time either. You're dating, you're having sex, you're getting in relationships with all the men that are not like that. And usually those men that are not like that have very clear signs very early. And when you're choosing optionality and choices and freedom of choice in these areas, and you consistently picking wrong from 18 to 28 or 30, an adult would honor and acknowledge it's also my fault too. And it doesn't matter what the man is or what he is or isn't doing, because I'm the one as a woman in 2025 that's still picking the man.
Right.
Right. So that's where I come from, where it's like that's actual accountability from both sides. But if I have a couple in the room, ideally, depending on what agreement they want, some couples don't want an approach that's more traditional in nature, where he's the head or he's the leader. They may want a more egalitarian approach, and that's their right, that's their choice, that's their lives. There's pros and cons to any of these setups that we do, but I do agree with you. In the end, I do put it on the men, because as I get to our points 2, 3, and 4, and I will even specify which parts men need to pay attention to the most, we're rewarding often the very thing that we're complaining about.
Yeah.
So that's a big piece. And I think men and women are doing it. But if one side is the leader, then I'm going to obviously put it on men a little bit more with that. But I agree, both sides, we have a much better job to do. We cannot get in this car together and both think we're going to be the driver, and we're fighting over the steering wheel, fighting over who going to press the gas and whether you're going to get out the car, like when I'm driving 60 miles per hour. Like, it's just total chaos when stuff gets started. So thank you for your pushback, your feedback. Yeah, you definitely welcome to come back, because I'm sure when I have some more interesting topics, you may want to actually debate me. So I'm open to it.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for coming on.
All right.
What trips me out about women is that they don't understand that there's a select few men that they attract, right? It's almost like an algorithm. You know how like in your algorithm, you only see certain shit because that's what you into? It's the same thing with men. And so the leader that they're asking for, that they want it out of men who aren't leaders, because that man is going to allow you to get away with a lot of bullshit that a leader won't allow you to get away with. And so you say that you want that, and then when you get that, it comes with duties and responsibilities, and it ain't a walk in the park, and he's challenging you and then correcting you and telling you when you're wrong, and you because of how your mama raised you, you wither like a snowflake, and you can't believe that this guy is telling you this, and it sounds controlling. The man that's a leader, you call him controlling, but the guy you select who's very passive about things and egalitarian in just the ways you like it, he don't know how to lead. It's opportunity cost. If you're going to get a leader, then you're going to have somebody that is going to be demanding of you. If you're going to get somebody that's about equality, you're going to get somebody that may lack in leadership.
Everybody shut the fuck up. Hey, shut the fuck up. Let me tell you something right now.
If you made it this far, check out the video we just did when we discussed how air traffic control saved two passenger planes from almost colliding at LAX.